No problem.
Here we go. I'm getting it. I'm a little.
Now you're my dogs in the back, so.
How many dogs you have?
Two.
Okay.
And one is a pit bull, the other one is a German Shepherd.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So,
I love my big dogs. Because, they always have, and it's so funny because, yeah. Oh, so they're talking to me. Never mind. That's my aunt, but, and my mom. But, yeah, no, they especially like during that time where they, where I live, like on this side of 441, you have like a whole bunch of people that try to come and sell like alarm systems. I'm like, you don't see those two dogs? Mm-hmm. I really don't need an alarm system, but thank you very much, though. So,
We're almost.
Take your time. How was your day? Your day was good?
My day was good. I did a lot of running around today, and I'm kind of a little bit, how you say, weathered, being out there. And okay, let me. Okay, I'm just typing some information in here.
No worries. Oh boy. Hold on one second.
All right. Hi, everyone. So, let me see. Make sure I have this. All right. So
sorry about that.
You're fine. Hello, everyone. My name is Ann G. Moss. I'm the founder. Well, I'm the founder of Hosanna. And tonight we have a special guest. Before I get into what we're talking about tonight, I want you to understand that our platform is used for those to share their story, share their businesses, and share their gifts, whatever that may be. We're a nonprofit organization here in Florida. We have an arsenal of programs, one that we are really proud of and known for in this neck of the woods, which is Exposed to Conversation, which is our platform for those that's been impacted by incest, molestation, and rape by a family member or a trusted family friend. We also have a new program that we rolled out during the pandemic, which is Hugs, helping underage youth with sexuality. So it's the first LGBTQ plus program for youth age 8 to 18 here in Broward County for those in our community. How about that? We're really excited about that. And we also have the Maximize Fitness portion, which is about your total well-being, mental, physical, all of it. So tonight, we have a very, very dear friend and special guest. His name is Mathew Eaton, and we are here to have a conversation as he share and open up to us of his story and his travels in this thing we call life, right? So with that, let me just get my screen properly adjusted. I'm dropping stuff. Ooh. Okay. Get me properly adjusted. And so I think
Me
my
too.
lighting is good. I'm so happy to have you.
Thank you for having me. It's been so long. We were actually talking last night and talking about how like COVID and everything and how like things have just been so crazy and whack. And, you know, it's just been a very exciting year, but you look so great and so happy for you and hearing that you now all of a sudden Mrs., you know, loving it, seeing you smile, just, oh my God. I'm just so glad to reconnect with you. And it's just been so long, you know?
Yes.
So
Pandemic got us kind of out of touch with relationship wise,
right,
with
yeah.
friendship. You know, that's having someone to talk to and, you know, to engage with others is an intricate part of us being and existing. We need to
Right.
interact with people. And I think
that's the thing, yeah. We
yeah,
do that.
this pandemic really put a hamper on that, you know? So
Yeah.
how's everything? Let's chat.
So let's chat. So I wanted to personally thank you and again give you my graces for allowing me just the opportunity to have a safe space. You know, I'm 30 years old. You know,
You don't look 30. You don't look 30.
Thank you. I'm gonna be 31 in a couple weeks, actually.
When? Because I'll be 51 in a couple of weeks.
April 7th.
March 28th.
Okay, Aries season. Woo! Yeah. Aries season. There's something about that Aries season. I tell people, Aries, you know. So and a fun fact, I share, especially for the kids listening. Fun fact, I share the same birthday as Billie Holiday.
Really?
She was born April 7th. Yeah, that was her birthday.
Wow.
You know, it's so funny because I was just actually watching the Lee Daniels movie that just came out with Andra Day. She was phenomenal.
Did she do?
She needs that Oscar. I'm telling you.
She queened that. She killed it.
Right. And so when I was looking up the movie and the info, it was like, oh, April 7th. Okay. Aries. Okay. All right. This holiday. I see. That's how a lot of things that she was. It was an Aries thing. I was like, okay, that makes more sense now. So
exactly.
Yeah. But you know, I just wanted to catch up and have a conversation about my story because I felt that, and as you know, and I just felt that, you know, gay boys like me, in particular, and when I say gay boys like me, obviously I'm a grown behind man, okay, but you know, for boys that identify gay who are like me and who had somewhat of a I guess more of like a struggle growing up identifying, and it goes in time. It's so funny. It ties into with your sexuality program for youth that, you know, there's things that we go through. And in particular, especially with where you're growing up. So I grew up most of my teens here, you know, beginning my childhood, you know, teens throughout my whole rest of my life here in South Florida. And so growing up, let me give you a little background. I was raised in a Hispanic household. So my mother's Puerto Rican and my dad is American who's Italian. So, I mean, I was raised by women the whole time. And so, you know, being the only guy in the house, you know, sometimes was a little, you know, you were expected to be certain roles and certain things you just can't really say if so you think, you know? So because there's always that stigma about how if you come out as gay, you may be looked at, for example, in the Hispanic culture, are you machismo, are you like masculine, or are you feminine, you know? If you say you're gay. So then that becomes a whole big thing. So in any event, but later down the road, I was like, you know, growing up, I realized, I said, you know, I should have maybe stepped out a little more sooner in some things. So, and it's so funny because growing up gay, especially as a kid, you know, you see a lot, you're exposed to a lot of things outside of your house too.
Let me ask you a question, because you say gay boys like you. At what age did you start identifying?
I started identifying around 7, and I
Around,
didn't really know until I was about 10 or 11, maybe 12. You know, I was exposed to, like, the first thing was I saw porn, and
uh-huh.
and I came across it. I was like, well, what is that? And so then realizing a whole bunch of stuff, I was like, um, yeah, I'm looking at the guys. I'm like, yeah, the guy is actually what I'm looking at. I like, And then later down the road, just learning about a whole new things and a whole, like, what does gay mean, and what is, what does that look like on top of that? Just learning that and being exposed, and not really, because remember, at that time, especially because it didn't really come to, like, really more acceptance until, like, recently, I feel. Like,
Okay.
so, like, the late 90s going into the 2000s, that became a whole big thing. I'm sorry about that.
That's fine.
So,
So can I ask, like, at that time, say you're saying around age 4, what did you say? And at what time what was your family's reaction, your mom's reaction, your caregiver, whom you,
so they didn't find out really till I was in my 20s. I didn't tell them.
okay.
Okay.
But were you stigmatized for?
They were somewhat surprised, you could say, but for the most part, like, when I had an actual deeper conversation with my mother about it, she knew somewhat, but she didn't want to really, like, ask per se, because she never really saw me around with some girlfriend or anything like that, because I never really brought nobody over either.
Okay.
So
were you bullied at any time during those younger years?
oh, absolutely in school, absolutely. And it's personal, because so growing up with a mixed background like me, okay, I said to myself, well, not knowing what we all know now as adults, and the horrible history of our country on top of that, I was saying to myself, first thing, just the fact that my voice was so, like, light, and the fact that I was trying to be friends with, like, white kids and Hispanic kids, and then even Hispanic kids were saying you don't look Hispanic enough, you don't, actually really qualify you as Puerto Rican, and some whites were like, well, you don't really consider, because you're not fully white either.
Wow.
So, there was things like that I grew up to in school because of that. So I didn't really have many friends, but then I just was kind of like, okay, a conversation, and then a back burner thing. And then, but as in my teens, especially down here, like, we got exposed, especially for, like, gays, like gay kids, when, like I said, when it was, like, porn, like, for me, then we became knowing about bookstores.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take it back to come
I don't want to get into too much detail about it because of the audience, but that becomes a whole nother thing to just kind of, for just a second, just to explain that that's just a place where adults go, or should be going only.
So Matthew, just to take it back a bit, because I know I was like, wow, when I heard you say that you were ostracized for your ethnicity, not being Spanish enough, or not being white enough, and that just took me. I just never thought about it in those rams that others go through, that racial whole thing. Oh my. So I'm taken by that. Yes. And then I'm listening to you, and a lot of things that you're saying, it gives evidence to others who's probably having a hard time with their children, and trying to figure out their sexuality, or what's going on with them. Being introduced to porn early is an indicator, is a red flag, right?
I saw my first tape at 7.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And that's how easy access that became.
And just imagine, it's 10 times worse with the internet.
Well, then the internet is so funny. I'm glad you brought that up, because then we introduced AOL.
Right.
And AOL, if you knew how to manipulate parental controls, you were able to figure out how to get to those sites and clear out that history at a very young age.
Wow. And some of these children,
Like I did.
yes, and that parents, please note that just as well as your children know how to navigate the internet, they know how to also erase their actions so they don't get caught. So you may think you have the upper hand and that you're able to, keep control of what they see on the internet. But the internet also teaches them how to manipulate it so that it looks like they're not doing anything. So you got to come up with a better way of monitoring. I'm not going to interrupt you again.
No, it's cool. It's cool. No, I'm glad you're bringing that up so that way you, and I'm glad because I sometimes feel like I ramble, but it's because I'm trying to get the thought out sometimes. So my apologies. I'm just glad you kind of put these out because it's like you're putting it out in context. I'm like, yeah, that. You know? So I appreciate you. So
my job make me a good listener.
So now I'm going to fast forward a bit to my teens. So this is where it becomes a bit intense. So when I was growing up as a gay teen, and you had your small friends, you kind of knew who was gay. You sometimes would kind of hint a little bit, kind of try to have the other person talk about it a little bit, without it having to really like say it out loud, but we knew, and that led to real life experiences. And so, like I mentioned, bookstores is I won't go into detail. Like I said, there's an audience, but the adults know when I say that, especially when you see them on 441.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where some adults go to do some things. And in particular, in these places we're actually all men. Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So in this place, now remember, I'm trying to keep this as PG-13 as possible.
Yes, that's fine.
My apologies. So listen, my thing is this. If you think it's going this way, just be like, whoop, and I'll whoop. So
no, you're fine.
So okay, cool. So when it comes to those places, sometimes you'll meet somebody there to kind of do some things with, adult things.
Mm-hmm.
And I met this one guy there in particular, in this one particular location that I will not disclose in respects of this particular location's privacy and all that. And it's such as everybody in general I'm naming. I'm not going to name, I should say, excuse me.
Right.
So this is 2007. Now, in the time, I'm a gay teen who is going to these places, but yet I'm also going to a church that is a Hispanic church, evangelical in particular, that has a pastor that talks about gays on the pulpit, jokes about it, and about 85% of the whole room of the whole church, and not all of it, is laughing about it. So I've got this in the back of my mind. Then we have HIV and STDs as another component to be worried about. And coming to find out at that time, teens were having the most infections. Okay.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And so all this is in my mind, and yet I'm still going to these places and I just don't care because I need an outlet, because I don't know who to talk about this stuff to at all, because there's no one in my house gay at all who can, or there's nobody. So I see this guy and we kind of do some things, and I'm thinking, okay, cool, whatever. We exchange numbers. I'm 17 years old.
So let me stop you again. Yeah. You're 17 years old and you were able to gain access to establishment that is supposed to be for adults.
Correct.
So it was no one checking identification, none of that. So I wonder, has that changed, like, to enter in these adult stores or places?
Right.
If ID is now being really looked at, or ages are being really, looked to see, making sure that minors are not in there with the adult population.
Right.
And then you mentioned, I got to make a note of that, you know, that's something that I want to make sure, at least here in Broward County, that if it's not a stronghold, that some kind of way it could be mandated that, you know, some type of search of an identification for the people that are entering the facilities are of age, legal age, to be in there. Because in these times, we got the human trafficking, we got sex trafficking, we got, you know, adults taking advantage of children all the way around. And I think it would be one added security that to be in place to require identification checks, like mandated in that sense. And you mentioned about, you know, how mentally not having a place to talk. And that's how, Matthew, and you hit the nail on the head, that's how we develop hugs. That's how we develop that program. Because I know also real that it's more than just you out there at 17 years old that didn't have a place. And I know that even today, how community and church and family and people ostracize the LGBTQ plus community persons as a whole. And to be a teen in that sector or a youth in that sector, that's like your heart is being ripped out of you. So I empathize with that. Oh, I'm here. Let's go.
Hey, you were pretty much putting, like I said, you're putting it out, you're explaining it. And so I appreciate it because it's true. My heart was ripped out on many occasions. I mean, I was even like, what I thought was love wasn't love at all. Especially when I would be doing things I would do my things, especially with people around my age and, you know, I mean, I should say teens at the time, my age or whatever, or young adults. And then I would think, you know, really it was just sex. That's just us, I guess, guys trying to explore, I guess, is a way to do that. I guess, and we're thinking,
Matthew, it's some of us in our 50s and 60s and 70s that still haven't defined what love is, and they still think it's good sex.
Right.
Okay, go ahead.
But you know what? The best love is yours. Yourself. Your self-love.
Yes.
Tell you.
But I had to learn that. I can't tell you I always knew that. I had to learn that.
Well, see, and I think especially, and that's another thing I wanted, in particular, you know, gay youth to understand, or LGBTQIA plus youth to understand that, listen, it's okay to learn. It's okay to learn what love is. You don't have to rush it, because I came from a time where you think things you have, like my generation was, you got to do things now. It has to be done now. Like I told you, it has to be done now, or nothing at all. And so that's how I operated on a lot of stuff, you know? So when I met this one guy in particular, he was an older guy. He was in his 40s. He had money, definitely had money. He flashed it off. And then, I mean, come to find out, he was a Jewish guy, and he was a realtor who is still alive to this day.
Okay.
And so he wanted my number, so I was like, okay, sure, here's my number, whatever. So he had called me actually and wanted to know one Saturday what I was doing. Okay. And I wasn't at.
How much older was he to you?
Oh, maybe like 20 years older.
20 years older?
Okay. In my mind, because I'm thinking this is somebody who kind of might be somebody who would kind of show me some things.
Okay.
And I felt because I never really had a father figure in my life at all. I didn't talk to my father until I was 26 years old.
So just stick a pin there. Stick a pin there, because this is something that has been plaguing me And I know I hear all the time how people say the women have daddy issues. And I'm like, wait a minute, but the mother had a son too. She had girls and boys. And why is it only the girls got daddy
Baby, I
issues?
had daddy issues.
Men can have daddy issues. I'm
Had a
serious.
little daddy issue going on, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, men have dad issues. And I
Okay.
think that needs to be, that whole stigma of talking about it
Right.
needs to be broken down so these men know that it's okay for them to heal. Because
And
go
yeah.
ahead. Go. Mhm.
No, I'm glad you're nailing it because they pray. They pray in these men too. You know,
Okay.
because this is exactly what he did.
Mhm.
I had one time he had called me, and it was funny because I was actually supposed to go to church the next day.
Mhm.
And it's so funny because I was like, all right, cool. I don't know. Maybe I'll just ask God to forgive me tomorrow. I don't know. Like I start having this thing in my head. I'm starting to feel like, yo, okay, so what's gonna happen now? You know? So he says, hey, let's hang out for a little bit. I got this house that I'm selling and I want to show you it. And I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So I met him right up where we were gonna meet up at. And he took me right over here to Hollywood. So there's an area called Emerald Hills.
Right. Mm-hmm.
That a lot of Jewish residents live, and realtors love to sell because those are properties with lots of money. And when he took me over to that location, yeah, my mouth kind of was like,
wow.
I've never seen a house like that big ever in my entire life.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, cool. So he takes me into the house and he says, hey, go look around, take enjoy, let me know what you think. So I'm thinking, all right, cool. I'm going to go walk around, and it was a beautiful house, pool, and I remember it was 2 stories and everything. And just whenever it would be like sunsetting, it would like illuminate the whole house of just the beauty of it. Like, you don't even have to have any electricity on, basically.
Wow.
That's how beautiful this property was. So then I hear him to tell me to come down here. So now there's a basement and it's dark.
A basement?
Or not a basement, but maybe it's okay, so I guess a garage is that the correct term?
Yes.
Do some garages have stairs? Like to go down? Like maybe a step or two?
Yeah. Maybe.
Okay, then it's a garage. Okay, cool. But all I know is that it was not like with a car or anything, because remember, this is a house that's empty.
Right.
So next thing I know, he's sitting there there's a couch and he's sitting there naked.
What?
And I was like,
so this may be something that he has done before, because why is the house empty and it's just one couch down there? But go ahead.
I don't know, but all I could tell him was like, he's looking at me like, okay, what, you gonna do something, right? I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't know. And I said, these are my words. I said, I don't know what you're thinking, but I think we kind of mixed something up here, because this is not what you said we were gonna do.
Right.
And I am not really feeling this right now. I know we did something, but like, and then so at that time, I'm scared as can be still. Because I'm like, all right, cool, okay. And so then he says to me, well, you can't leave. And I'm like, well, I'm going to go ahead and just walk out the door then. You need to show me where the door is at, because I'm out.
Right.
He tells me, well, if you get out here, I'm calling the security guard and you're going to have the police come by and they're going to arrest you for trespassing. So you really don't have a choice. So then I was like, a choice of what? And so the next thing you know, he slaps me and he punches me.
Oh,
and so I try to start, trying to be physical back about it. But he was just much stronger than I was, because I just couldn't push him off at some point. And he just started beating on me, throwing me on this sofa, and just doing a whole bunch of sexual things. And all I can remember is that while I was trying to struggle, I got really, really tired. And finally, I just got numb. I just got numb, like within that moment. And then I just was, and then after he was done, I still was numb. I still was numb. I didn't know how to respond. I really didn't know how to respond. And then the messed up part about the whole ordeal that I will never forget are the following words he said were, "Oh, I'm sorry, was that rape?"
Yes, it was rape.
So I didn't know how to respond. I didn't know how to respond. I couldn't respond. I just couldn't respond. I literally felt scared at that moment. I didn't know what to think. And so he was nice enough to give me a ride home, I guess, if you will. Because here I am, I'm afraid to even scream. I don't even want to scream because if I call 911, then next thing you know is, okay, so not only would I have to admit I'm gay, but then I'd have to basically have this case of being like a boy being raped. And
Right.
most of the time you hear only about girls getting raped.
Right. Right.
So I had a choice to either suck it in and only tell people that I thought I could trust. And that's another thing, Angie, and that's what I want to tell youth, especially LGBTIQ plus youth on top of, or any youth, I should say, for that matter. That's one of the things you got to learn when you grow up is who exactly you know and what they care about and what they don't care about.
Right.
Because they may sit there and tell you that they have your best interest, but in reality, they really don't, and they show your true colors, as we've seen during the COVID pandemic.
Yes.
Is a good taste and tale. The only group that I thought that I could actually trust at the time was my youth leader at the time. There goes another, motorcycle at that point. I really thought I could trust my youth leader because my youth leader, I knew that I was gay, quote unquote, and was gonna eventually have the sin rebuked out of my body. Okay. I literally had a whole group of guys praying in one point, literally like trying to pray the gay out of me. And I'm like this. At one point, I'm like, it's not changing. Sorry. But at any event, I told him what happened. And he says, well, you do know it's your fault, right? I said, what? What do you mean? And he was like, well, you went up to meet with him and you had sexual relations with him and you know it's a sin. What did you think was going to happen? So that's your bed you have to lay in.
Wrong on so many levels. Wrong on so many levels. Wrong on so many.
I hid that for years. And in fact, I didn't even have the conversation about it with my own mother until like maybe 2 years ago, or maybe a year and a half ago. And my mother is actually a receptionist in the industry where they sell like mortgages and stuff like that, like real estate. So she answers the phone, does the messaging, helps out with whatever kind of clerical stuff that they don't want to do, basically, And so she knows the guy that did it. She actually knows of the guy. She doesn't know him like personally, but she knows who it was when I told him the name. And she told me that that individual specifically is a very nasty, disgusting human being in the sense of like just the way that that person talks to people and has interacted with people, especially like in work relation. And the messed up part is I didn't even like, I guess I would be mad at people when they would like say they didn't understand why nobody says anything until later in life. But I said to myself, because like that was, and that was what I was saying. I wanted to say all this because, you know, especially when I saw like the Me Too movement, like unfold. And then I saw like people literally say about how survivors, or whatever the term is, or whatever you want to call them, people that had that happen. Okay. That why did it take so long to say it, and therefore I shouldn't believe you because now you're saying something. But I want to say this. You're scared to say anything. And I honestly don't like the cops like that. I was told never call cops ever. Okay. So I didn't want nothing to deal with that. I didn't want to deal with no like cops. I didn't want to deal with no like, I just wanted it to be done. I just wanted to forget about it. And so I forgot about it. So I thought for years. And what I thought was me, I guess, because then I had spoken to a therapist about it later on. And what they were telling me was how like some of that trauma that happened, or that's the word they use, trauma, that, you know, it probably was part of the decisions you made when you're looking in some men that you may have been romantically involved with. And so I was like, oh, okay, which led me to my ex-husband. And I say ex-husband because we were together on and off for 7 years during my 20s. And I remember how I said, okay, I love this man a lot. And we were around the same age, but he had a lot of violent tendencies. And a lot of those violent tendencies can be subliminally in your head. Like you could say like, okay, you have this out of your mind, but because you've seen it before, you think it's okay because it happened before, and you choose to stay.
Right.
And so that's what I did. I chose to stay with this man who literally had cheated on many levels. Honey, I saw Grindr, I saw Adam for Adam, Craigslist, all these things that teens are also going on now. Yes, they're going on them.
They are. You're not lying. They are.
Okay, you have all these people, and I see all these things that this man is doing, and he literally had hit me on top of that on numerous occasions. He even put a gun to my head over a pack of cigarettes. On top of that, thinking I stole his pack of cigarettes. I'll never forget that. And I had allowed that to happen and be taken advantage of over and over and over. And so one day I said, I'm done. I don't want to live like this ever. I don't want to live like, I don't want to keep living in any of this sorrow. I don't want to live in any of this pain. I don't want to keep having bruises. I don't want to have another gun put to my head over a pack of cigarettes, which I'll never forget that. And then later on in life, after we've broken up a couple times, I contract HIV.
Oh, okay.
So my childhood fear as a gay teen comes true. And here I am thinking, okay, I can, after all is said and done, I hadn't spoken to the man, and we were separated for like almost 2 years during that duration. And I said, you know, this is somebody that I can actually believe in and trust, and say, hey, this is what happened while we were not together. No, you don't have it. No, I didn't give it to you, type of deal. You know, can we move? Are we going to be able to move forward this final time, like you claim? Because one of the things that is a repeating cycle, come to find out, is sometimes the person who will hurt you will come back to keep asking for forgiveness, and then it becomes a whole round of a cycle again. And that happened twice. And after the third time, well, actually happened 3 times. And after the third time, I was done. after I found out that not only did he take that information, that now I'm HIV positive, but now he's told all these people my status, and he has told people that I threatened him, his life, by trying to give it to him. So after that, I was like, I'm done. That's it. You gotta go. And oh, it was just a revelation. And I bring this up because, again, it ties into being used to that fear and violent type of atmosphere that you think that you're supposed to endure because you had it happen to you as a kid. And so that's why I said, you know what, I'm gonna focus my energies on, you know, I gotta live myself and live my life better. And that's where I'm at to this day. You know, I wanted to say, this is my story. You know, there is a lot of things that, like, I was thinking about, like, what I was going to tell, because I don't like to write, especially when it's like a personal thing like this type of atmosphere, like an intimate thing. I don't really write stuff on paper because I don't believe in this whole rehearsal crap.
Right.
I don't. I believe just saying it how it is, because my thing is that some people are having the challenge of trying to have the conversations with their kids now.
Right.
I've noticed that parents are now becoming more aware of how to handle these things. If your child who identifies as gay or lesbian or trans, for that matter, what is it that they can do? What are the tools that they need in order to have these conversations so it's facilitated? And you know, Angie, to be honest with you, sometimes it's still, for most, unfortunately, to me, it seems like the conversations are still not being had. And I'm not saying this is because, like, organizations like yours or like organizations that are in the school system, you know, they're doing what they're doing for the most part. It's just what happens when you leave the premises. There's still more work to be done.
So, and I'm glad you're stating that and you're asking that, because one of the components of hugs is it can't be a complete, you know, hug if I don't include the parents or the caregiver or the guardian or the family as a whole into this. So to embrace that youth, everybody's going to have to come in and you know, hug on them. So we have to teach the parents as well as, you know, because it is a lot of fear around having children that identify as LGBTQ+. A lot of people seem to think immediately off, oh, they're going to contract some kind of disease, HIV, AIDS, some kind of disease, number one. The other stigma is they're going to be bullied, that, you know, the universe don't like lesbians, the universe doesn't like gays, or whatever the case. So the parents have this inward fear. They don't acknowledge that fear to the child. And if they do, it comes off harsh.
Right.
Okay. So when you don't understand something, it creates a misunderstanding to the person you're trying to have the conversation with. Exactly. So, and it leads to the youth feeling ostracized, alone, you know, invalued. It leads to all these things that opens the door for them to be the prime candidate for manipulation. And I'm saying that is, in your conversation, it was your self-perception of yourself, number one, didn't align with anything concrete to sway you away from this particular situation or the way they treated you, because your self-perception of yourself, feeling alone, feeling like nobody cared, feeling like you're looking for love, you know, probably had esteem issues in a sense.
Right. Absolutely. Yes. Yes. Yep. I mean, then, I had weight issues on and off throughout my childhood too.
Yes. So
up and down, up and down.
You know? I can imagine that created a platform for the manipulation to take place. And it's not always being manipulated by the other person. Sometimes the manipulation is what we self-perceive.
Your hair's looking great, though. I just want to let you know. I was looking at mine, too, at one point.
You know? So
I was like, wait a minute, because I was like, ooh.
yeah, thank you. So, you know,
looking great as always.
Thank you. What we perceive to be real, you know, our mind tends to make us think that any little gesture from someone that has a little bit more than what we have,
right,
live a little bit better than what we have, you know, or dress a little bit better, drive a little bit better. You know, we go into this false perception of, you know, by me being with them, it makes me a queen. It makes me make my,
right,
you know, and all that stuff. And it's all false. You know, it's just the grounds. Once our minds are connected to all that low self-esteem and all that stuff like that, it just gives us, we become vulnerable.
We do.
To others who may take advantage of that. So that manipulation is something that's a lot. And I think that, you know, parents as a whole need, let me say this, a lot of parents can't. They don't know how to have the conversation. A lot of parents are not trying to embrace that whole LGBTQ plus. I applaud the parents that, you know, you hear when some people speak from the LGBTQ plus community and they say, oh, my mom loved me to death. She's with me all the time. That's my best friend. Da, da, da. I applaud that, because out of every one that I run into that have the support and the love, they're living a good life. You know, I run into 3 more that don't have no love, no support. The family done rejected them, and they're on this path of trying to feel accepted, and they're getting themselves in situations with that manipulative counterpart, using them and lowering their self-esteem even more. So they end up doing things and going through stuff because now they're homeless or they're prostituting or whatever the case may be. So I get it. And now you're here.
I'm here.
You're here at this point. You identified about your childhood. You identified about your relationships. You identified being HIV positive. How was that for you? Was that a devastating turn, or did that feel, I mean, what did that look like, finding that out?
I mean, I was with my best friend on Wilton Drive, actually, and I was already like, listen, I'm already an adult here, so listen, I'm of age, so I had some adult beverages, if you will, okay? And
that
so,
you have all the time. Okay, go ahead.
Right, and so, you know, like, I went and I saw the mobile van, and we both went to go get tested, you know, just to say, hell, we just got it. We just got tested. Hell, why not? You know? Mm-hmm. And he left first. I'm like, why are you taking forever? Why am I taking forever? I'm not understanding this. He just walks right out and he gives me that look like, and so I'm like, yeah, I want to go. I'm waiting. And so, but at the time they had also came out with a Hep C test, which is hepatitis C for short. And in any event, so I'm thinking it's because of that. No, it's just because of the, they gave me the antibody test, which is the finger prick. They said, well, you've shown antibodies for HIV. And I was like, you are so full of it. I looked at him like, you're so full of it. I'm a little bit like, you know, buzzed and tipsy going on. I'm like, like, I'm literally like thinking he's lying. And then he's like, no, I'm dead behind serious, basically. I'm like, huh, what, who? Let me see that. You're lying. And so, no, it was reactive. And so I was numb again. Because that's my thing. When something has hit me like that, I've realized the first reaction is numbness.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to go home. My whole buzz and everything was done that night.
Mm-hmm.
Like, like they say, the high is blown. Okay. So,
Right.
So I took my happy ass home. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
sorry.
You're
And
good. You're good.
I told you I tried to make it PG-13. And so, I eventually had told my mom, which led to the full, even more in-depth conversations, which even grew us more closer because there was a lot of, I guess, fear on both sides. Because remember, me being gay stops that bloodline.
Mm-hmm.
There's no birth kids coming. Listen, I'm not making any kids. I'll tell you that right now. So the buck stops with me, apparently, unless I adopt. But the situation is that, I had to go get retested and it was positive. And so, I mean, I don't recommend this, but it led me to want to basically end my life. And I remember it was within that first couple weeks, I got into my car and it was 2:00 in the morning. And I just drove up and down north southbound lanes of I-95. I was trying to at one point I was in Palm Beach. I was trying to find out what is a good place for me to crash my car into. Literally. And I said, I got too tired. I said, you know what? I'm just tired now. I've been driving for 2 hours. It's not happening. I don't know. I don't know why I can't figure out why I can't find a wall. I literally couldn't find a good wall to crash in. So I just gave up that day. And I don't recommend no one try to commit suicide. So this is another reason why I'm bringing it up, because you don't have to feel that way. I realized you don't have to feel this way. You can reach out to help and get help from someone and really know, especially you as a kid, really know who you trust.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have to ask yourself, my best friend told me this question, taught me the statement actually, believe nothing you hear and question everything. And it's so true, because you can never trust everybody.
Right.
So, but fast forward to that, I just, I got on treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm undetectable, meaning yes, I've been undetectable for several years now. I'm still living healthy, and what I thought was a death sentence is not a death sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I'm like, you can actually thrive, but you have to want it. And I said to myself, I felt like crap for so long,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to feel like this no more. And so that's what I did. And, that I just sat there and I was like, I want just this actually to just be like, no matter who sees this, whether it be a parent, whether it be a kid, I just hope the conversation is had that, especially kids, they're taken seriously, especially with kids. Because like you were saying, parents are learning some of this stuff too, but it's a shared responsibility, because the parents have to want to have these conversations. Because I say to people, especially parents, do you want to see your child laid in a coffin before you do? Then you better have the conversation soon.
Right. And I think one of the things outside of talking about, how people always say, talk about sexuality with your children so that they can be aware, you got to talk about the untouched sexuality, meaning it's sexuality by visual and, all of that. You have to make sure you talk to them. Sex happens visually, verbally, and physically.
Yeah.
And I don't think people take that into consideration when dealing with the youth. Right. And I need that everyone on here, I implore you to please not only speak to your children about their bodies, teach them about respecting other people's bodies and perimeters, and no bullying if anybody is different than them.
Well, I have to interject this, if I may, Angie,
Okay.
because I heard you say this earlier, but I think this has to be said too. You know, you have to, as parents, you have to look yourself in the mirror too and see what exactly it is that you're giving off. If you want to have these conversations, you better be living by what it is that you're having conversations. And then the other thing,
the children are watching you.
they're watching you bring in whoever every other weekend, dressing however you want to dress, doing the other things, and then you want to know why they're doing the same things because they see you doing it.
Thank you.
I mean, I see kids, Angie, I see kids with iPhones at 7 years old.
Unacceptable.
Why? Why does a kid have, oh, it's a kid one? How the hell do you know that? And that's the thing. Some of these parents are in denial, and some of these parents don't even want to have the conversations.
Let me tell you something.
Because of their upbringings.
I tell them all the time, cell phones, iPads are not babysitters.
Right.
They are not babysitters. Yeah, you want your child to sit down, be quiet. Just teach them to read a book.
What they found was a one-step solution. Instead of paying $400 a month for daycare or whatever it is a month, they wanted to pay a one-time fee of $400 for a phone, and there you go. Have a good day. You see what I'm trying to say?
Yeah,
so my thing is, listen, let me be clear. I'm not knocking any parents here. You know what I'm saying? Who am I to judge how you raise your kid? Because my mother would tell you to go screw off if you try to tell her how to raise me. She was that way and still is. Okay. Yeah. But she don't raise me now, but you get my point. She was like that as a mother. However, what I am going to say is you got to walk that walk too. So if you want your kids to know what the best way to handle situations is, stop being selfish and actually take the time out to learn how to do this. And then for the kids, it's a two-way street too. Stop being so selfish too, because it's not all about you either, because that's another thing. It's not all about me. Some things in life we have to go through to learn. And so, some people.
One of the things, Matthew, that I would like to say is that when it comes to STI, STDs, HIV, it's like people, you don't have to be in fear anymore. It's so many resources out there that can help. It's not a death sentence anymore.
Right.
I know emotionally it may take a toll on you, but it don't have to be the end of the road for you. Right. Suicide is not the answer by any means. Right. I just shared with someone I was speaking with the other night about when I was in high school, a young man that I was so in love with. I had heard he was at the hotel with another girl, right? Oh yeah. I was heartbroken. Oh my goodness, I was heartbroken.
See, and if I was with you at that moment, knowing how I am, I would have been like, all right, let's figure out how we're going to handle this stuff because he's got to learn.
No, I didn't have that. I was in my head. I was in my head about all of it. And I remember I went and I took all these pills. And when I woke up, right?
Right.
I'm at the hospital in restraints. My arms are restrained. My legs are restrained. And I'm like, what is going on? And the doctor told me, he said, if you would have taken just one more pill, you would have been out of here. Right? And I was like, oh my goodness. And I was like, all right, I'm awake now. I want to go home. And they go, no, it don't happen like that.
No, it don't.
No. And when I realized when he said it don't happen like that, the nurse started talking to me, and my dad was there, and I could see my mom at the door. She was so afraid of hospitals, she never came in the room, but I saw her at the door, and they said no, she has to go to the psychiatric hospital. And I freaked. Oh my God. I freaked out. I was trying to get out and they kept me there for a couple of days. I'm not lying. And when it was so funny that when they let me out, you know, they were like, she's just heartbroken. I didn't have a mental issue. I wasn't suicidal. I
Right.
was just heartbroken. And sometimes in our weakest moment, we think the definition to exit all of it is to kill ourselves. Like the world will be a better, no, the world will be a better place without, you know, and that's what your mind is telling you. Now I'm looking at my 51-year-old self.
Ah,
Like
beautiful. Listen,
if I would have ended my life, I wouldn't have been able to give you this sunshine.
no, you would have not. And I'm so glad you touched that up because not only is it okay to talk to somebody, you don't have to go through stuff alone. You know,
No.
not only is it, but just knowing the fact that you're able to, like, for example, like how you and I are here, I firmly believe that we were meant to have this session.
Yes.
It's just the way it is. And I'm that type of a spiritual person. Things happen for a reason. And so,
but you know what, Matthew? I believe that you are 100% correct because our story alone is evident that it's a bigger meaning.
right.
And I'm saying that because I met you years ago.
You did. It's been
And
when
I met you years ago, I left in my head, you know, like, oh man, this dude got his stuff together. I mean, you had your notepad, you had your thing, and you was like, and what you
you
spoke well, you did your job well, and I was highly impressed.
Thank
and
you.
I was like, I didn't know. I was like, I need to get me an assistant like that.
And you know, it's so funny.
From meeting you, thinking just that.
You and I did a lot of community projects together, and
Yes,
you
we
were
did.
just amazing, especially and we worked on this the Kiki project, it was called.
Yeah.
And it was a great program. And the fact that the program was allowing someone who didn't identify as Black like me and someone who was a Black woman to come and support meant a lot. To have the audacity to collaborate forces and empower each other.
Yes.
Was just amazing to me because you don't get to see so much interactions or even like collaborations because of a lot of stuff, which is a whole nother topic. But you know, it's just a lot of issues, unfortunately, that became that way. But you know, the fact that they had the audacity to do that, especially in Wilton Manors, because Wilton Manors is, which is the gay mecca, if you will, that a lot of gay youth learn about as a kid.
Yes.
But you go there and it's mainly one specific demographic. Mainly.
Right.
And so then the question comes, is there really such an inclusion for everybody? And so the fact that that was a program that actually defied it.
Yes.
Was like, oh my God, I'm so glad to be a part of this. But that just led to, because you and I, we share that love and that bond for people and community. Because
and for what we do wholeheartedly. Yes.
And I think it's because also for me specific, sometimes people who are hurt help to prevent hurt from other people.
Right.
And so that's what I saw myself doing a lot of, because I wanted that escape, which it's okay to have an escape, but you got to make sure that escape is very healthy for you. And
for me, I help because I want that for every person that I impart with, I want them to see that life is what you decide it's going to be. You have control. Your abuser don't have control anymore.
Right.
You got to take back your power. You know, the situation that happened doesn't have control over you. Whether you diagnosed with AIDS, HIV, STDs, any of that doesn't define you. You can still own who you are and choose to live a life past all of that and have happiness. Absolutely. And that's how when I'm out there, that's what I'm an example of. I may have done this, did that, you know, but none of that defines me.
No.
That I'm
No.
bringing the joy that I have to you and to others so they can see that every day is worth living. I always think about just that one pill. That means I wouldn't even have another day. I
Right.
wouldn't have never met Matthew. I wouldn't have never
I
known
wouldn't have met you.
Hosanna.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm elated that you said that. Thank you. One of the things that that shows me like you as a person is you and I never, and I'm going to say this on, we never talked about any of this. This is my first time meeting this side of Matthew. We never talked about what he went through in his childhood. We never talked about what he was experiencing with his health. I never knew. I just knew that when it came time to show up to do something in our community for the people we live, work, and play with, we showed up.
We
And we
show
showed
up.
up ready
That's
to
what,
go.
because that's what we do.
That's what
You
we do.
know.
That's
But
what we do.
yeah.
And that's the good part. But in order for me to continue on my journey and to stay in a good space, I still go to therapy. I still talk with
Yes.
someone so that it can keep me focused because I'm gonna be very transparent. Sometimes all that stuff from way back there comes all the way back and it'll sit on me like a ton of bricks and I'll
Yep.
go back in some steps and I'll be stuck. That's what I call stuck when I can't push it off. And
Absolutely.
I have to go speak with someone to help me put everything into category, compartmentalize the stuff and get back on my, so when you see me and I'm like out in the streets and I'm at the beach or I'm in the woods or I'm doing all this stuff, I'm trying to get this thing right here back together.
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's the thing, another thing, and I'm a zodiac person. So you and I are Aries.
Yes.
So
yes.
you and I know how it is when it comes to emotions.
Yes.
We are not somebody who likes to show it off unless it's warranted.
Yes.
And so when we do stuff, it's because, like you said, we need to get this back to here.
Right.
If we can't, because we've already accepted the fact that it's going to be mutually impossible to put it all the way down, because that's just, as human beings, it's impossible for that.
Right.
We can, however, alleviate it by putting it down and pushing it as much as possible by taking care of ourselves.
Right.
And so, hey, listen, I have started 2021, this new personal campaign of mine. Use your PTO today if you have PTO. Because you know what? If you die, God forbid, who's going to use your PTO? Nobody.
That's a big one there. Y'all better pay attention.
Listen, I am saying you have to take care of yourself. Self-care does not necessarily mean you have to go get a pedicure or your hair done or some makeup, whatever. If that's it, cool, then fine, let it be. Se fue. But if it's other stuff like, going to the beach, like you said, or traveling out of town, or just reading a book, okay? If that's what it takes, do it.
Yeah.
And get it done.
Yes.
Because my thing is, you have to get in that mindset. Mm-hmm. And mindset is so important. Like me, I go to therapy all the time too now. Mm-hmm. With diagnoses, there's diagnoses. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I accept it because I'm a human. My thing is, who doesn't have a mental issue at this point? Especially after this past year.
Yeah.
This past year alone gave everybody then a good amount.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly. So I would say this, just so you all know, those that are watching, Hosanna for Youth has a new program here in Broward County. It's called Hugs. It's for helping underage youth with sexuality. It's a LGBTQ plus program for youth that are identifying as LGBTQ plus. They may not be having this conversation at home with their parents. They may not have had this conversation with anyone, but you may recognize some things and whatever, please tell them about Hosanna.
Oh,
Please.
listen, listen, now that you listen, you know me. I'm like, hey, y'all gotta listen. Ann Jean knows her stuff, y'all. You need to really make sure that you do not take Hosanna for Youth for granted, because Hosanna for Youth can move a mountain out of a molehill, or whatever that term is.
Wow.
Because my thing is, you have people that care about the youth. And especially like you said, it's so crazy how you developed hugs, or your group, everybody developed hugs. And yet we're having this conversation, how it just kind of,
it all just came together.
It came together. It just wasn't even a planned thing. Exactly. And that, again, I go back to, it was destined for us to have this conversation.
Yes.
And so, I really hope that everybody out there, because I know I'm doing it, really takes Hosanna for Youth and utilizes them, because they're here for you.
Yeah.
And these conversations is what they do. We're old enough to have these conversations.
Yes.
So,
and creating a safe space for persons to come and have the conversation. And when I say safe space, I have to be clear about the type of environment that Hosanna for Youth gives. Like, we're not employees of a company that have given us a script and a manual on how to deal with these issues. We're persons who have had these experiences. We are the topics that we talk about. We're talking from experience of where we've been. We're talking from the things that we went through in our journey as youth until now, and how that can help the other ones. So we have our programs really, they are led by survivors. They're led by those that identify as LGBTQ+. We have, matter of fact, we were able to get a team as the liaison for Hugs. So that part we're happy for, which will be introduced to everyone soon. But the program is going to be peer-led. Isn't that going to be awesome? So having someone your age, someone that looks like you, someone that can identify with you and have a conversation with you is amazing. So with that, we felt that a need to reach the community is not all about a tight skirt and a suit and all this giving these directions. Right. It's about meeting me where I'm at. If you can't talk to me, I can't hear you. You understand? And right. Just because you're talking still don't mean I hear you. Because correct. You might be speaking a language or a manual that doesn't even communicate to me. Right. So we take pride in making sure that the audience and persons that we're trying to reach, that we can identify with and that we can have a conversation. And that's what it's all about. And a lot of things that people go through in life, once you realize that you're not alone, you're like, what? Had I known? And you be like, oh, wow. And then it makes it so much easier for you to continue to go forward, because right. Now you have identified with someone that looks like you, can relate with you, can do, that have been where you've been, and you now can go forward together. So that's what Hosanna for Youth is all about. Mathew, I am so grateful. So grateful. I'm so
grateful of you. And Hosanna for Youth, and thank you so much for
we
this.
Went across the board. We went with the racial thing that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Happens.
It happens.
In my ignorance, I didn't know.
But see, that's the thing. It's not that, we learn from each other.
Yes.
I don't, want to say consider ignorance, because I see ignorance as people who don't want to learn or don't want to know anything.
Yes.
I consider that ignorance, and ignorance is bliss. Okay, so my thing is, listen, we're people, and we're here together. We're in unity.
Yes.
Unity, and that is the divine of a beloved community. I was actually doing the MLK Social Justice Center in Atlanta has these webinars,
Oh,
and
okay.
this year's theme is the beloved community. So
Oh.
what does a beloved community look like? And in fact, this month's sessions are on the Be Love series, and there's a pledge also
Oh, okay.
where it talks about those type of loves that we talk about. And so my thing is like, I want to be a person of love. I want to be a person of somebody who cares, someone who, and like in that sense. So it's like we come together and we learn from each other,
Yes.
and we move forward. And
Yes.
that's the beauty of it.
Thank
So, but like I said, I just want to thank you so much again, because it's like not only have I not seen you in so long because of COVID also, but like, we just had to get together. I'm just glad I was able to help out in any way I can. And if you need anything, let me know. I'm here for you. I have love for you, love you, and thank you for everything. So thank you.
And know that Hosanna is here also for you. And anytime you want to stop by, drop in, Zoom in, anything, you in already. Just say I'm on my way.
All right, cool.
They'll know to get prepared.
Hey, we're practically neighbors, because you work right up from where I live.
Yes.
You're off 56, no?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm on 59. So all I gotta do is shoot right down 56. So I'll be like, hey, I'm coming through.
Okay, I love it. I love it. I love it.
Have you been open for COVID?
Huh?
Have you been open, like the facility open and all that?
Appointments only.
Appointments only. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appointments only. We're doing a lot of Zooming. Like,
okay.
I think I'm so tech savvy now.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
We're actually
so many platforms now. So
yes. So now we're preparing for our Survivor Stroll this Saturday. It's going to be virtual, and it's just a special small rendition.
Okay.
Of Survivor Stroll we put on Saturday at 11 a.m. via Zoom, and it'll be over on Facebook, and
nice.
and also share it to our YouTube channel. This will be the first time we ever did any type of event virtually. So we kind of nervous, but we got to do what we got to do, because we don't want people to lose focus and not think that Hosanna is not here, because we ain't going nowhere.
Consistency.
Yes, we're here. So we just wanted to make sure of that. And if you need to reach us, Hosanna for Youth is on social media under Hosanna for Youth. So we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, we're on Twitter, even though I don't tweet much, we're on Twitter. We also have a YouTube channel. Go subscribe to Hosanna for Youth and watch the tapes, and so you can see what we've been doing over the years. Also, you can email us at hosannaforyouth@gmail.com, or you can also call us anytime. Now, I'm gonna let you know that it's not always me that answers.
Hey, we could have kept going. This could have been an all-night discussion. I would have been cool with it. So
the phone number is 954-300-1370. We are working on receiving a toll-free number, so that the people that's in Georgia and other places, because we just got a donation from Philadelphia. Thank you for the person who sent that donation. Thank you for watching us on social media. Thank you for thinking that the work we do is worth it. That's how Hosanna has been able to keep abreast and keep giving to the community, is by donors making donations to our organization and believing in our services. It's too many youth that are hurting It's too many grown folks wearing the makeup to hide that they're hurting. It's a place here in Broward County, Hosanna for Youth, that can help you sift through all of that and find the beauty of living. So here we are. Thank you all for joining us. Matthew, I love
Thank you,
you.
Angie.
Good
Love
night.
you. Mwah.
Bye.
Pleasure. Thank you. Mwah. See you later. And
Bye.
listen, we got to catch up. So,
Yes.
you know, get my mask. I'll have my mask. So don't worry. We'll be good, you know. So definitely let me know.
I got you. All right, baby.
All right, love. Take care. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.